Kathy Hochul, she's the governor of New York, don't you know?
Oh, yeah. She's back, too. Well, I don't know what angle you're taking on this, but she's encouraging people to get a COVID shot.
Oh, yeah, she did the PSA with outside of CVS in New York and telling us how easy it is to get your Fauci ouchie to stay updated.
Hi, everyone. Kathy Hochul is reminding everyone it's time to get that COVID shot. I know a lot of us want to forget about COVID. We all know somebody who's contracted it and not feeling good these days, so here's how we prevent it. Just stop by your local drugstore, your pharmacy, your own provider. Get the shot now. Every year you should be thinking about getting that. It doesn't take any time at all. In fact, we're going to show you how fast. Let's time my visit here today. Let's get started. Oh, yes. Nice to meet you. Nice to see you. Hi.
She's so personable.
Hi, nice to meet you.
So painful.
Here for your vaccine today?
Yes, I am.
You'll just see the pharmacist Danielle here. She'll help you around here.
All right, thank you.
Hi, Governor Hochul. My name is Danielle.
Hi, Danielle. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Doing a lot of these or not so many?
Oh, yeah,
my
we're doing
gosh.
plenty, which is great because we want to protect our community.
Oh, yeah,
Yes, we
protect
do.
our
Yes, we
community.
do.
Yeah, right.
All right, word of advice to everybody, wear the right clothing. Gotta go up really high on the arm.
Thank you.
All right, Governor?
Thank you,
All right,
Governor.
here we go. 3,
Mom?
2, 1.
3.
Tell me when you've had enough.
Yeah, I've had enough. And then
And then she passes out.
I won't refer. And she's rushed to the ER with myocarditis. No, I mean, it's just the whole thing is just so.
It's enough. Please. Enough,
That's
as
terrible.
KJP says.
The terrible, and the timing couldn't be more comical unintentionally. One, you got Nipple Rings Gambino there, who's going to be testifying before House Committee on Tuesday
Right.
about his duplicity during COVID, particularly as it pertained to sending sick people, elderly sick people, back into nursing homes that cost lives.
Yeah, Janice Steen's lost both of her in-laws. I hope she testifies.
So there's that piece of it, and then the other piece of it is there's a big trouble in Albany. I mean, you just had like a senior level advisor and her husband arrested for being agents of the Chinese Communist Party.
Oh, dear. And you know that they were advising on COVID policies.
Well, Linda Sun, she was the deputy chief of diversity officer under Cuomo and deputy chief of staff under Governor Hochul. She and her husband arrested. Meanwhile, in New York City, you got,
New York City.
as we just mentioned, senior aides, 2 more senior aides of Eric Adams had their homes raided by the FBI as they investigate some sort of alleged kickback scheme between the Adams campaign and the Turkish government. And as Kimberly Strassel outlined in her piece that we were referencing a bit ago, I mean, Menendez and Egypt and Qatar, his pay-to-play with Egypt and Qatar, and Henry Cuellar with that Azerbaijani concern. And, oh, by the way, Hunter Biden just pled out to tax evasion charges yesterday, and it all relates to influence peddling schemes that were selling America's national security for personal Biden enrichment all over the place, mainly to our enemies like Russia and China. For more on these matters, pleased to be joined by Helen Raleigh. She's a senior contributor to the Federalist, Federalist.com. She's also the author of Backlash, How China's Aggression Has Backfired. Helen Raleigh, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, I mean, this is just another sort of instance of Chinese Communist Party insinuation into the halls of power in this country. I mean, we've seen this with Confucius Institutes at the collegiate level, in particular espionage cases like this one appears to be out of New York, spy balloons. I mean, at some point, we're going to have to potentially take real stock as to how compromised we are by people who want to compromise us.
definitely. We're going to see more of this, unfortunately, because as we know, the United States and China are engaging in this strategic competition in every area, ideologically, economically, from military standpoint. So China is going to send more spies to the United States. And unfortunately, from this Linda Sun case and the several other cases, especially involved with the high-level Democrat politicians. Remember Dianne Feinstein? She has a staff, a Chinese spy on her staff, for over 20 years. And let's not forget about the Representative Eric Swalwell from California, that he had a relationship with another Chinese spy during COVID. Not during COVID. We find out during COVID that she helped him raising money, and they supposedly had a relationship. So all these incidents are a reminder that where our national security is constantly under threat from adversaries.
What is your take on the incredible spike in the number of Chinese nationals, and as it goes, single men of military age coming in through our porous borders, actually by invitation? I mean, is that just people mainly seeking escape from the repression of the Chinese Communist Party and a better life in America? Are they being sent here with a wink and a nod from the party to do this sort of infiltration work, or what's your general take on that?
Well, from what I read about, and actually people I talked to, that I think a majority of them are not sent here by the party, because China is struggling economically since COVID. Because China had when you complain about our COVID policy, the Chinese people had it a lot worse, because they had a zero COVID lockdown for nearly 3 years. So there was a lot of, a business filed a bankruptcy. The economy is really struggling, and there's a lot of discontent from the people. So definitely, the majority of them really wanted to leave because they do not see hope in China. But we cannot rule out maybe the small number of them would try to take advantage of the open border policies under the Biden-Harris administration, try to infiltrate it into the United States and causing harms. So we do not know how many, because we do not even know how many people, cross the border illegally, because the Biden administration certainly didn't care.
Wow. And going back to Linda Sun, do we know what information she was, or will we ever find out what information she was giving to China from Kathy Hochul's administration, or what exactly was her role?
Right. So here's what we should understand, the uniqueness about China's espionage activities. So it's not just about collecting information. That's very traditional, and some of them do that, collect like a critical military, economic information and send it back to China. But from the indictment, it seems what Linda Sun does is less about the collecting information, more about using her high-level influential positions to influence China's U.S. policies towards China, or create access or blocking access. For example, one of her indictments said she blocked access for Taiwan representative to meet with high-level New York state officials. That's definitely something beneficial to Beijing. And also she allegedly illegally used the governor's, invitation to invite high-level Chinese officials to create access for them to have conversations and meetings with New York state officials. So that's something we should understand. This is called China has a secret organization called the United Front, and their main goal is to conduct oversee influence campaign. And they aim to cultivate influential people like Sun, and using her to help promote China's favorable impressions, public opinions, policies about China. At the same time, silence critics. So this is another aspect about the Chinese espionage that's very unique to China.
Yeah, I mean, there's like sleeper agents. The Soviets did the same thing.
Okay.
Right? I mean, isn't that what they are?
It seems China's using this more obviously and more though.
Yeah, no, I mean, I understand, and it's just one aspect of their approach to trying to disrupt competitors, enemies, whatever term you want to use. The other thing, though, in your piece about this over at City Journal that I liked is the reference to, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing his name, but Shu Sin. Is that a close? If I'm not, just correct me. But you know who I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm sorry.
His name is Chen Xuesen.
Okay. And so, but I mean, tell us his story too, because this is sort of the balance that we need when we're thinking about policy, is to really think this through. And the example of his life is something that we need to keep in mind as we're also trying to combat the malign activities of the Chinese Communist Party.
Definitely. So I think we definitely should not, because of these incidents, look at all Chinese Americans suspiciously, because the story of Chen Xuesen is very illuminating. He came to study in the United States prior to the Second World War. He's like a math and physics genius, and he studied at Caltech and MIT, and he actually joined the Manhattan Project, helped build the atom bombs. So after the Second World War, he did not want to go back to China. He wanted to stay in the United States. He had a great job offer at Caltech, and he applied for U.S. citizenship. But because of the McCarthyism, the Red Scare, his citizenship application was denied, and he basically put a sort of house arrest. He was under constant U.S. Government surveillance. So eventually he was so desperate, he basically reached out to Chinese embassies in United States that he wanted to go back to China. So in 1955, the U.S. did a high-level prison swap, basically sent Chen back to China. In exchange, brought several U.S. pilots who were shot down during the Korean War back. As soon as Chen returned back to China, she helped China build the atom bomb, the hydrogen bomb. Basically, based on scientific estimate, he pushed forward China's nuclear weapon development for at least 20 years. And not only that, he's also helped China develop like a space program, ballistic missile program. He basically was considered the father of rocketry in China. And so Chinese officials, American officials later realized that sending Chen back to China was the stupidest thing that the United States has ever done.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. We want the best and the brightest to come to America. It doesn't matter where they're from. We want, but this is why you have to have sensible policies with respect to immigration and border security and all the related aspects of that. But I like that. It's good to know those stories too, so we don't forget that we still want to be a beacon for people who want to build a better life and contribute to this country and advance the cause of freedom. So very good piece. The Beijing spy games over at City Journal. Helen Raleigh is the author. She's a senior contributor to the Federalist, Federalist.com, and the author of Backlash, How China's Aggression Has Backfired. Helen Raleigh, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Welcome to Face the Music, sponsored by Fox Valley Coins in Naperville, a weekly 60-second deep dive into current events. Today's guest, former President Bill Clinton. Mr. Clinton.
Wait a minute. Face the Music? They told me this was Face the Nation. Or was it Face the Press? Shoot, if I'd have known it was Face the Music, I'd have brought my saxophone.
Mr. President.